Diamond, you know how to spend $31 million a year in salary, and you can't figure out how to make up a $567 a month shortfall. This is a budget problem you cannot solve. You're an expert on financial statements and you run a $2.6 trillion bank. I know you're good at numbers, and you've shared lots of opinions recently about how the US should budget its resources, how families should budget their resources. And so I'd like to ask for your help on a problem. I went to monster.com and I found a job in my hometown of Irvine at JP Morgan Chase. It pays $16.50 an hour. And so I wondered if I could, if you'd indulge me, when you do the math on this and you do the $16.50 out at 40 hours a week for 52 weeks a year, it comes out to an income of $35,070. Now this bank teller, her name is Patricia. She has one child who's 6 years old. She claims the one dependent after tax. She has $29,100. We divide that by 12. She rents a one-bedroom apartment. She and her daughter sleep together in the same room. In Irvine, California, that average one-bedroom apartment is going to be $1,600. She spends $100 on utilities. Take away the $1,700, and she has net $725. She's like me. She drives a 2008 minivan and has gas, $400 for car expenses and gas. Net $325. The Department of Agriculture says a low-cost food budget, that is ramen noodles, a low food budget is $400. That leaves her $77 in the red. She has a Cricket cell phone, the cheapest cell phone she can get for $40. She's in the red $117 a month. She has after-school childcare because the bank is open during normal business hours. That's $450 a month. That takes her down to negative $567 per month. My question for you, Mr. Diamond, is how should she manage this budget shortfall while she's working full-time at your bank?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Would you recommend that she take out a JP Morgan Chase credit card and run a deficit?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Would you recommend that she overdraft at your bank and be charged overdraft fees?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
So I know you have a lot
I'd love to call up and have a conversation about her financial affairs and see if we can be helpful.
See if you can find a way for her to live on less than the minimum that I've described.
Just be helpful.
Well, I appreciate your desire to be helpful, but what I'd like you to do is provide a way for families to make ends meet so that little kids who are 6 years old living in a one-bedroom apartment with their mother aren't going hungry at night because they're $567 short from feeding themselves, clothing them. We allowed no money for clothing. We allowed no money for school lunches. We allowed no money for field trips, no money for medical, no money for prescription drugs, nothing. And she's short $567 already. Mr. Diamond, you know how to spend $31 million a year in salary, and you can't figure out how to make up a $567 a month shortfall. This is a budget problem you cannot solve.
My house is on fire, and we only have one house. We've been talking about saving the Amazon for 30 years. Almost 30 years ago, Sting held a concert to save the Amazon right here in New York, and we're still talking about it. The world's largest rainforest, the Amazon, is crucial to any climate change solution for its capacity to sequester carbon, for its biodiversity, for its fresh water, for the air we breathe, for our morality. And it is on fire. When a room in your house is on fire, you don't say there's a fire in a room in my house, you say my house is on fire, and we only have one house. Greed is winning the battle for the Amazon. And what we've done to preserve the Amazon, what we've worked so hard for, is being purposefully undone. We need to protect what we have. We need to restore what we have lost, and we need to defund the mechanisms, the perverse tax subsidies, the lending policies, and the institutional investments that fuel deforestation. It is understood that the protection and preservation of tropical forests can achieve at least 30% of the emissions reductions we need to protect the planet. On behalf, my goodness, I'm so sorry. In the movies, we get to do it over. And without the Amazon, without securing the largest standing tropical forest in the world, we cannot achieve a climate solution, and nothing else we do will matter. Conservation International has been working in Amazonia for over 30 years, and we are here now to stand with you to put funding, to put teeth in this ambition. President Macron, we're sincerely grateful to the French government, which has committed to investing in this effort with a $100 million contribution. Thank you, sir. It is a great start, but it is not enough. On behalf of Conservation International, I'm honored to announce that we are committing an additional $20 million in funding. But we can't do it alone. We need all the help that we can get. This money must go directly to indigenous people and civil society. The people on the front lines, the people on the ground, the people with their feet in the mud. Our efforts will have effect. We will make great progress. And we are not alone. There's a new force of nature at hand, stirring all over the world. They are the young people whom, frankly, we have failed, who are angry, who are organized, who are capable of making a difference. They are a moral army. And the most important thing that we can do for them is to get the hell out of their way.
How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you are doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points Most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
First of all, Mr. President, we don't work for you. I don't work for you. My job is to cover you, not fawn over you or rip you. Just report on you. It's called being fair and balanced, Mr. President, yet it is fair to say you're not a fan when that balance includes stuff you don't like to hear or facts you don't like to have questioned. You're only human, I get that. Who likes to be corrected? But you are the president. It comes with the job, just like checking what you say and do comes with my job. After all, I'm not the one who said tariffs are a wonderful thing. You are. Just like I'm not the one who said Mexico would pay for the wall. You did. Just like I'm not the one who claimed that Russia didn't meddle in the 2016 election. You did.
Fox has changed, and my worst polls have always been from Fox. There's something going on at Fox, I'll tell you right now, and I'm not happy with it.
Promises made, promises kept.
He clearly is a believer in state-run television and views Fox as that they are supposed to be effectively propagandists for Donald Trump.
The president making clear to fact check him is to be all but dead to him. There are no grays, no middle ground. You're either all in or you're just out. Loyal on everything or not to be trusted on anything. Which could explain the president himself this week bashing Fox News yet again, urging his supporters to stop watching the channel, to quote tweet, "Fox isn't working for us anymore." Well, first of all, Mr. President, we don't work for you. I don't work for you. My job is to cover you, not fawn over you or rip you. Just report on you. Now, I'm sorry you don't like these facts being brought up, but they are not fake because I did. What would be fake is if I never did. If I ignored all the times you said you loved your old Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, until you didn't. Had no plans to dump your Homeland Security Secretary until you did. Called Chinese President Xi Jinping an enemy just last week and a great leader this week. Sometimes you don't even wait that long. Last week, you expressed an appetite for background checks before arguing just hours later our background checks are already strong. These aren't fake items, they're real items, and you really said them. Just like you never paid to silence a porn star until it turns out you did. Never ordered your former White House counsel Don McGahn to fire Bob Mueller until we learned you tried. Fake is when it's wrong, Mr. President, not when it's unpleasant. Just like it isn't and wasn't fake when you said the Access Hollywood tape wasn't real when it was, or that you inherited an oppression from Barack Obama when you didn't, or that you ripped quantitative easing when he was president, but are furious the Federal Reserve isn't doing the same for you now that you're president. You're entitled to your point of view, Mr. President, but you're not entitled to your own set of facts.
And I think Fox is making a big mistake.
And thank you. Wow, a standing ovation. Wouldn't your plan to do away with the Electoral College hurt a state like New Hampshire?
Well, first of all, New Hampshire's status as an early primary state is one of the things that sees to it that there is a lot of attention paid here. And it's actually something that I think forces us candidates to get out of national media mode and actually engage people in a human way, which is helpful. But when it comes to the general election, at risk of sounding simplistic, I think the right thing to do is just to have everybody's vote count the same. Look, states don't vote, people vote. And
he's extremely progressive, wants to get rid of the Electoral College.
Right. In New Hampshire, which would diminish their effectiveness.
But he also
but the people clapped loudly when he said that.
Well, because they're all his friends. I think he's related to the whole audience.
You know, a lot of folks in my party were critical of me for even doing this with Fox News. And I get where that's coming from, especially when you see what goes on with some of the opinion hosts on this network. I mean, when you got Tucker Carlson saying that immigrants make America dirty, when you've got Laura Ingraham comparing detention centers with children in cages to summer camps, then there is a reason why anybody has to swallow hard and think twice before participating in this media ecosystem. But I also believe that even though some of those hosts are not always there in good faith, I think a lot of people tune into this network who do it in good faith. And there are a lot of Americans who my party can't blame if they are ignoring our message, because they will never hear it if we don't go on and talk about it. And so it's why, whether it's going into the viewership of Fox News or whether geographically it's going into places where Democrats haven't been seen much, I think we've got to find people where they are, not change our values, but update our vocabulary so that we're truly connecting with Americans from coast to coast.
All right, Mayor, we got to take a break here.
Don't hop on our channel and continue to put down the other hosts on the channel or the channel. If you feel that negative about it, don't come. Because for him to go out there and take shots of our primetime lineup without going on our primetime lineup shows, to me, absolutely no courage.
Just to be clear, you're saying that you would be okay with a woman well into the third trimester deciding to abort her pregnancy.
Look, these hypotheticals are usually set up in order to provoke a strong emotional...
In fairness, sir, it's not hypothetical. There's 6,000 women a year who get abortions in the third trimester.
That's right, representing less than 1% of cases.
I know, but 6,000 pregnancies.
Let's take ourselves in... Yeah. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a woman in that situation. If it's that late in your pregnancy, that means almost by definition, you've been expecting to carry it to term. We're talking about women who have perhaps chosen a name, women who have purchased a crib, families that then get the most devastating medical news of their lifetime, something about the health or the life of the mother that forces them to make an impossible, unthinkable choice. And the bottom line is, as horrible as that choice is, that woman, that family may seek spiritual guidance, they may seek medical guidance, but that decision's not going to be made any better, medically or morally, because the government is dictating how that decision should be made. The tweets are, I don't care.
voter registration from Republican to Democrat. With the 2020 presidential election looming on the horizon, I feel as a Republican that I need to be able to support the standard bearer of our party. Unfortunately, that is something I'm unable to do. I believe that it is just a matter of time before our country pays a heavy price for President Trump's reckless spending and short-sighted financial policies, his erratic, destabilizing foreign policy, and his disregard for environmental concerns. Furthermore, he sets, in my opinion, a poor example for the nation, and particularly for our young children, by personally insulting, often in a crude and juvenile fashion, those who disagree with him. Being a bully at a time when we're attempting to discourage bullying, his frequent disregard for the truth, and his willingness to ridicule or marginalize people for their appearance, ethnicity, or disability. I believe that his actions have coarsened political discourse, have resulted in unprecedented divisiveness, and have created an atmosphere that is a breeding ground for hateful rhetoric and actions. Some would excuse this behavior as telling it like it is and the new normal. If this is the new normal, I want no part of it. Unacceptable behavior should be called out for what it is, and Americans of all parties should insist on something far better in the leader of their country and the free world. When I get home to Jones County, I intend to change my voter registration from Republican to Democrat and will be joining the minority caucus. This has been a very, very difficult decision for me and has only come after considerable reflection, much prayer, and many restless nights. I've been a registered Republican for close to half a century, a Republican office holder for 35 years, am the longest serving Republican currently in the Iowa legislature, and am very proud of the many good things that the Republican Party has accomplished over many years. However, the time comes when you have to be true to yourself and follow the dictates of your conscience, and for me, that time has come. Thank you very much.
This is about our constituents and all of our lives. Iowa, Nebraska, broad swaths of the Midwest are drowning right now, underwater. Farms, towns that will never be recovered and never come back. And we're here, and people are more concerned about helping oil companies than helping their own families? I don't think so. I don't think so. This is about our lives. This is about American lives. And it should not be partisan. When we talk about the concern of the environment as an elitist concern. 1 year ago, I was waitressing in a taco shop in downtown Manhattan. I just got health insurance for the first time a month ago. This is not an elitist issue. This is a quality of life issue. You want to tell people that their concern and their desire for clean air and clean water is elitist? Tell that to the kids in the South Bronx, which are suffering from the highest rates of childhood asthma in the country. Tell that to the families in Flint, whose kids have their blood is ascending in lead levels. Their brains are damaged for the rest of their lives. Call them elitist. You're telling them that those kids are trying to get on a plane to Davos? People are dying. They are dying. And the response across the other side of the aisle is to introduce an amendment 5 minutes before a hearing and a markup. This is serious. This should not be a partisan issue. This is about our constituents and all of our lives. Iowa, Nebraska, broad swaths of the Midwest are drowning right now, underwater. Farms, towns that will never be recovered and never come back. And we're here, and people are more concerned about helping oil companies than helping their own families? I don't think so. I don't think so. This is about our lives. This is about American lives. And it should not be partisan. Science should not be partisan. We are facing a national crisis. And if we do not ascend to that crisis, if we do not ascend to the levels in which we were threatened at the Great Depression, when we were threatened in World War II, if we do not ascend to those levels, if we tell the American public that we are more willing to invest and bail out big banks than we are willing to invest in our farmers and our urban families, then I don't know what we're here doing. I don't know what we're here doing. You know, we talk about cost. We're gonna pay for this whether we pass a Green New Deal or not. Because as towns and cities go underwater, as wildfires ravage our communities, we are going to pay. And we are either going to decide if we're going to pay to react or if we're going to pay to be proactive.
I believe you're a rogue police officer, you're a bad police officer, and you don't deserve to be here. I would like to make a comment. I want to congratulate all the BSO officers who've done such a great job.
Do all you can. Morning, Captain.
Joshua Gallardo,
It's my line.
can you come down for a second? It's good to see you again. You probably don't remember me, but you're the police officer who falsely arrested me 4 years ago. You lied on the police report. I believe you're a rogue police officer, you're a bad police officer, and you don't deserve to be here. You're the police officer who falsely arrested me 4 years ago. You lied on the police report. I believe you're a rogue police officer, you're a bad police officer, and you don't deserve to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate as a whole BSO and everything that you do for us. Thank you for your service to our community. We appreciate you. Please take that away from here tonight or today. Thank you very much. Be safe out there.
So the list price is almost $2,000 in the United States. Why is it $8 in Australia? Mr. O'Day, you're the CEO of Gilead. Is it true that Gilead made $3 billion in profits from the sales of Truvada in 2018?
$3 billion in revenue.
Oh, yes, in revenue, thank you. And very quickly, the current list price is $2,000 a month in the United States, correct?
The current list price is $1,780 in the United States, and just to correct, the $3 billion was a global figure.
Okay,
for Truvada for PrEP.
So the list price is almost $2,000 in the United States. Why is it $8 in Australia?
Truvada still has patent protection in the United States, and in the rest of the world it is generic.
There's no reason this should be $2,000 a month. People are dying because of it, and there's no enforceable reason for it. Dr. Grant, Truvada for PrEP is the only known drug that can prevent the transmission of HIV, correct?
It's the only medication that's been approved by the FDA. It's also known that tenofovir alone is prophylactic for HIV.
Thank you. And Dr. Grant, it was your NIH-funded research on PrEP that built on the earlier research work patented by CDC researchers. Is that correct?
Yes. My clinical trial was informed by CDC research in two ways. One, the CDC demonstrated that the pre-exposure dose was added to the efficacy of PrEP.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. And I would also like to seek unanimous consent to submit this Yale School of Law study into the congressional record, which concludes that the CDC's patents for PrEP were both valid and enforceable against Gilead.
Ordered.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lord, thank you for your advocacy here today. Is it true that the public invested $50 million to develop PrEP?
That is correct.
Is it also true that Gilead relied on publicly funded trials to obtain FDA approval?
Yes, if you look at their supplementary new drug application, you'll see that every sponsor of Truvada as PrEP was a non-Gilead sponsor.
When folks can't access PrEP because it's so expensive and we spread, the HIV epidemic continues, that also comes at a public cost, right? So the public is paying, we paid to develop PrEP, we paid to finance the publicly funded trials to develop this drug. We also pay and foot the bill with patient assistance programs, and also we pay when the HIV epidemic gets spread as well.
And will be generically available in the United States as of September in 2020, based upon Gilead agreeing to support generic entries 1 year early.
So I think it's important that we notice here that we, the public, we, the people, developed this drug. We paid for this drug. We led and developed all of the grounding patents to create PrEP, and then that patent has been privatized, despite the fact that the patent is owned by the public. We refuse to enforce it. There's no reason this should be $2,000 a month. People are dying because of it, and there's no enforceable reason for it. We own the core intellectual property for it, and as a result, people are dying for no reason. For no reason.
What is wrong with this president? How dumb is he?
The purpose of a journalist is to hold people in power accountable.
Now, we're going to vet the president. We're going to talk about his vacation, his golfing.
2 golf outings for the president cost $2.9 million. That alone is amazing.
Should a president, the leader of the free world, be on a social network tweeting?
No.
He's kind of a celebrity president. He's kind of like Ryan Seacrest.
This is a president who does not really know what he wants to do. He simply wants to be popular with everybody, every audience before which he stands.
The president seems almost obsessed with cable TV, or am I wrong?
This is a president who rules by executive authority.
executive action. When he's not doing executive actions, he's out on the golf course.
The president heads to Florida for a boys' weekend of golf.
Yes, this president is the beneficiary of the vision and the action of his predecessor.
The rule used to be a sitting president doesn't criticize his predecessor, especially by name.
Has any president in your lifetime taken on this kind of tone, this kind of harshness, either towards his predecessor or towards a single media outlet? I have never seen this before.
Without the teleprompter, the president doesn't know exactly what to do correctly.
The president's budget that he gave today, all right, doesn't cut any deficit. It increases the debt.
For the man who said we have to get our deficit under control, he's not doing it. It's like golf, Mr. President. You play a lot of that.
He's certainly not acting like the most transparent president in history, is he, Juan?
What's in those records that you don't want us to know about?
Once again, he's pandering to the worst regimes and thugs and dictators.
This is a president that is acting like a dictator. This is a president who is ignoring the rule of law and siding with lawbreakers.
This is a president now who's demonstrated that he will lie to push through a program.
And once the president tweets it, then it becomes canon. Oh, that's a fact. The president says it's a fact.
He's in love with campaigning. He's going to fundraisers tonight.
He achieved that significant accomplishment earlier today while vacationing in Florida on your dime.
This president and the people around him are convinced that God has anointed him to fix everything in one fell swoop. That's not how American politics work. That's not how life works.
This is a president who has become known, I think, to the public as a blamer.
He never makes any concessions. He always treats his opponents as though they're enemies.
We have a president who can never admit he's wrong. He's so insecure and vain at the same time.
He doesn't realize that the president has that power to set a tone and other people follow it.
What he's really trying to do is to divide the country and to get his people to turn out to vote.
He simply doesn't like being mocked. Maybe he's a little thin-skinned.
I've been saying, Mr. President, put your pants on, sit at the table, man up.
Skip the trash talk. It only diminishes the office of the president.
If you want to work with somebody, you don't call them names.
This is a very quick and easy, cheap way to score political points, but it's a terrible, corrosive way for a president of the United States to govern a country.
Why don't you talk in an aspirational way to people and be more positive and more uplifting?
Mr. President, you need to stop acting like a schoolyard bully and start acting like the leader of the free world.
Mr. President, everyone is laughing at us. You're like a schoolyard bully. No one's afraid of you. Putin sure as hell isn't.
With all due respect, Mr. President, maybe it is time you stop looking at a TV tuned to Fox and looked in a mirror tuned to, I don't know, you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. President, for watching tonight.
Now, the glaring double standard that exists here is nothing short of incredible.